2, and it's Iran taking on Japan. Well, huge game. The winner of this contest will finish first in Group C and go straight to the quarterfinals. The loser of this game will go into the qualification to the quarterfinals along with Syria. Kazakhstan, of course, eliminated just recently, just less than an hour ago, by Syria in their battle. So Syria progressed, they clinched third place. And now it's all about the battle for first and the automatic spot in the last 8. I'm Jeff Taylor, joined by Mark Mills. And it's going to be hard, Mark, for Japan to improve on their performance against Syria, and especially against an Iran team that has really been one of the best teams in Asia for some time now.
Yeah, this battle, for me, is really evenly poised. We're set for a really, really strong one. Iran have looked good. They've looked consistent in their first 2 games. Japan have looked scarily good in their first 2 games, particularly with their perimeter game. But this one should go to the line. Some of the things that I'm looking for on this one is really, you know, Haddadi, the icon, the legend that is that big man, and the front court that he's going to put onto Japan. How do they cope with him? How do they lock him out of the game? Is it Watanabe and Evans? Is it a combination of the 2? Will we see zone defense from Japan to deal with that? And then at the other end of the floor, can Iran chase the Japanese shooters for 40 minutes? Because if Japan shoot like they did in that second game against Syria, then it's going to be a really long night for Iran.
Well, these teams have a history. They've played a lot over the years, and they'll actually be playing after this in the upcoming Asian qualifiers. In the next window, they'll be playing each other twice as they try to get to the FIBA Basketball World Cup. This is going to be in the Philippines. Japan won both of their games in the build-up to the last FIBA Basketball World Cup. Now we're going to pause for the playing of the national anthems.
Please stand standing for the national anthem of Iran.
Well, we are just minutes away from the start of a very, shall we say, intriguing encounter between two teams that, you know, these they've had change of personnel over the years, coaches. Tom Hovass was not coaching Iran at the Olympics, for example, nor was Iran led by their current coach at the last Olympics. Right now, it's Saeed Armagani. So, you know, constantly in a state of change, really. Tom Hovasto on the right, Corey Gaines, his main assistant there, and it's going to be a test, as you alluded to, the speed and the shooting of Japan. Can they get those shots to fall? Are they going to be as dominant as they were against Syria? I would suggest not, just because of the pedigree of Iran, and but you know they have squared off against these guys before. They're not going to be intimidated, the Japanese, nor are the Iranians going to be intimidated by the Japanese.
Yeah, no, this is clearly the biggest test both of these teams have faced so far at the Asia Cup. You know, no disrespect to Kazakhstan or Syria, but these are two legitimate medal contenders that are going to go up against each other.
And the referees that are going to call the shots for this are going to be Ahmed Ali Yassin Al-Shuwaili from Iraq, Mohammed Fauza from, also covering this game, James from Australia, James Boyer, and Ahmed Al-Shuwaili from Iraq, and Mohammed Fauzi Taha from Jordan. So for Japan, Yuki Tagashi, the starting point guard, Luke Evans, Yuta Watanabe, Yudai Nishida, and Hirotaka Yoshi. So solid starting five, but what comes off the bench might even be scarier. Sato, Suda, Kawamura, Tominaga, Taves, Inoue, and Harimoto for Coach Tom Hovasto. Of course, we've said it before, we'll say it again. He did coach Japan's women for several years and led them to the top of Asian basketball, the silver medal at the Olympics. And they were eager to get him in charge of the men to see if he could work his same magic. So he has started, seems like he's started to do that now in this FIBA Asia Cup. For Iran, starting five will be Sajad Mashayeki, Benem Yakchali, who's been sensational, Mohamed Jamshedi Jaffer-Badi, who really got going in their last game, Arslan Kazemi, of course the workhorse, and Ahmed Haddadi, the legend, Mostafari Hassanzadeh, Yusuf Van, Zangane, Resefar, Faz Rofate, all coming off the bench, as well as Agajampur. For that man right there, Saeed Armagani.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Such contrasting styles that these two teams are going to look to play. You know, pace is key for Japan, whereas Iran, for them to win this game, I have a feeling they're going to want to try and slow things down. They're going to try and limit the transition and limit the spread that Japan are going to try and put on the floor. So can Japan contain that front court of Iran? And can Iran contain just the lethal speed and accuracy from downtown? And you're absolutely right. We look at that bench for Japan, Suda, Tominaga, Kawamura, and you're just like, how are they on the bench? It's unreal. It truly is, you know, the riches that Coach Hovas has to deal with. And then you look at the other end of the floor and you can say exactly the same. They've got some supreme talent coming off the bench. And to think that the starting fives are going to win this game is a complete misnomer. This is going to be at least 10 players in each team that are going to have to contribute to come away with the win.
Tominaga, of course, as so often is the case in international basketball, sons and daughters of former players in the lineup. And Tominaga, one of those. His father, a former center, giant center, in fact, for Japan's national team.
Iran is not twice one of the two teams for Japan. Number 3,
and although both these teams have qualified through to, you know, to progress out of the group stage, I feel it really is important. I think it's a handicap if you have to be put through to the qualification game for the quarterfinals. A direct progression to that quarterfinals game, I think, is a big leg up in this competition. Not having another game, not having the potential chance to slip against what would be a lower ranked team, but that's still chance for there to be an upset. So both of these teams are going to go all out for 40 minutes.
Yeah, the loser will face either New Zealand or Philippines in the qualification for the quarterfinal. So, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. It's late afternoon here in Jakarta, Indonesia, and we are underway. Iran winning the opening tip and taking on Japan. And Benem Yakchali is fouled here right at the start by Japan, pushed. And it's Yuri Nishida. So it's going to be fascinating to see how Iran try to counterattack this Japan speed and shooting. And Mo Jamshidi, of course, he can get it going as well. And Nishida a little slow getting to the ball, but he was able to knock it over to his teammate.
No real surprise that Japan want to play a 5-out offense. They're going to try and make Haddadi actually a weakness that he won't come out and defend the perimeter.
And the bounce pass for Tagashi, and Yoshi can't control it, so it goes out of bounds and back over to Iran. So you got also Yuta Watanabe, plays in the NBA, Toronto, and also Ahmed Haddadi, also a former NBA player. And of course, Benim Yakshali, who plays professionally in Germany, comes out and smokes a three, perhaps easing some of the tension for Iran.
Yeah, he's leading the tournament in scoring, had 31 points in their opening game and has looked super smooth on the offensive end.
Yuta Watanabe, that was well short, but the long rebound goes to him. Nishida gets his first three. Plenty of options to put it up from deep for Japan.
Yeah, and warning signs for Iran. They gave up 2 open three-point shots in that possession. They can't afford to do that. Japan will punish you.
So Haddadi, if they have an advantage, it's got to be in that low post, you would think, Iran. And Haddadi dribbling, loses it out of bounds. Of course, not the spring chicken he once was. Ahmed Haddadi, members of those title-winning teams at the FIBA Asia Cup, and now 37 years of age. And foul called here on Iran. Kazemi.
Yeah, it's called an offensive foul, actually.
All right.
That was what the conference between the two officials was.
So Kazemi gets the position set, and instead it was,
I think it's Watanabe, yeah.
Watanabe?
Yeah.
So certainly Hovas wants a clarification. Now they're talking some more.
That's important, you know, every play in this game is going to be important, so it's good that the officials use themselves as a team as well. But it won't be the first or last time that we see Kazemi playing some good defense, leading the tournament in steals, and just really puts it on defensively for Iran.
So Watanabe indeed with the charge, but his foul hasn't registered for some reason. Okay, now it has finally on the overhead scoreboard, or the foul board and scoreboard. Mashieki and Iran start to move it around. Luke Evans trying to keep Haddadi out of there. Mashieki catches it. Now Mashieki gets it back. And now reaching in, Nishida. And they've called another foul on Nishida, who protests. And then I think realizes immediately he needs to be quiet because some of these referees have been pretty quick with the whistle in terms of technicals.
Yeah, foul number 2 on Nishida as well. It's going to force a change as Tominaga comes in.
And usually when Tominaga comes in, he teams up with Kawamura, so this is a little bit of a different feel for him. Jamshidi right at the elbow. And Watanabe rebounds and runs. Watanabe, an offensive foul.
That could be the second foul on Watanabe then. That's a tough one. Let's have a look at the replay. Oh no, it's on Evans, just pushing.
So they'll probably be happier that it's on Evans than Watanabe. And now the dump down low. What a great play by Benim Yakchali. Just took the pass and just turned it into an alley-oop. So Mashayeki reaches around and fouls Yoshi, who took a little exception to the foul.
I love the Iranian defense, the way they've set out as we see a replay of that score. Just been a little bit physical, a little bit of body nudges here and there where they can, just trying to put Japan off their stride.
Tagashi hits the three-pointer. And he was clipped on the leg, the Australian referee says, so chance for a 4-point play.
Yeah, I think it's the right call. His feet didn't flick out too much.
They flicked out a little bit, the right leg.
But depending on your shooting style, it's almost natural to have that flick of your feet. As long as it, for me, as long as it doesn't look clear that you're just trying to draw contact by flicking your feet away. It's not the normal shooting style, that's for sure, as you practice your form here in the commentary box.
Yeah. I guess it makes sense that your right foot is a little bit forward on that shot. And driving in and scoring is Yakchali, who's been the standout performer for Iran already in this tournament.
And this is the evolution of Haddadi, you know, at a younger age.
Tominaga explodes and scores with a reverse layup.
Yeah, Haddadi at a younger age would be the scorer. He's now more than happy being the facilitator, but that's the speed that we talked about for Japan with Tominaga.
Katsumi answers with the left. Both teams getting to the hoop. Well, competent start for Iran, that's for sure. Look outside, Evans, Tagashi, another three, got it! How about that? 7 points already for Yuki Tagashi. Yoshi trying to keep Haddadi out of the lane. And Howell, man, Jamshidi doing a little ditty after that long two.
And at the moment, for me, Japan are paying maybe a little bit too much attention to Haddadi. People helping down, just trying to stop him from getting position.
Tominaga, that's going to be short.
As expected, though, this really is a close game, but very different styles of how they're going to approach it.
And now the ball goes off of Jamshidi's hands, and we'll get our first look at Suda, who Yutaro Suda coming in, and he was the guy that really, after Tominaga got it going, really caught a blaze, really caught fire for Japan.
24 points in under 6.5 minutes, just lights out. Everything he touched went down.
Yoshi able to pass it out to Evans. Spins, goes up and gets rejected by the big fella, Haddadi. Now the dump to Kazumi and goes out of bounds, but off of Japan. Boy, what a great rejection by Haddadi. Look at him protecting the rim.
And that's why, even more so, it's going to force Japan into shooting the three ball. They don't particularly want to attack the rim when Haddadi's on the floor.
Now Haddadi gets it. He goes to work, turn around. Oh, he still got it, doesn't he? Big bat, Hamed Haddadi. Suda on the break, answers.
This game's warming up nicely. The key players have come to play.
Jamshidi puts it up, and that's good. That's another two. The big three for Japan, who's scoring right at will, really. Chali, Haddadi, and Jamshidi. Ooh, Tagashi dribbled it off the feet of, or looked like off the feet of Jamshidi, but Iran picked it up. Now, a little give and go action with Haddadi, lays it up with the left hand. How about Iran?
Haddadi out in the break. I don't think we're going to see too many transition offenses for him.
Watanabe, good!
And for me, that's how Japan are going to make this work. Whilst Haddadi's on the floor, they have to play 5 out. They have to make him try and come out and play perimeter defense.
Now the dump to Yakchali tried again for the alley-oop, and now Watanabe trying to pick the basketball up and kicks it and loses it after the pressure being offered by Iran's Jamshidi. Jafar Abadi, that was Watanabe's three-pointer.
And there's Haddadi just running out in transition. Haddadi now heading to the bench. How are Japan going to fare against a Haddadi-less Iranian defense? Because that does really change the dynamic for Iran.
To me, the most interesting stat is this. Japan, 5 of 7 from three-point range, and yet they lead by just 1 point.
They've pretty much done nothing else but hit threes, haven't they?
Iran up. They've got possession. Jamshidi got it. Iran go back in front. The lead keeps changing hands.
And that's Jamshidi up to 7 points. And when he starts shooting like that, that is a good sign for Iran.
Now Yuki Togashi glances off the rim. Pazirov today in the game. Now Yakchali just pulls up, and his attempt not there, but Pazirote gets the offensive rebound and put back. How about the young fella getting it in there and giving a spark to Iran, forcing Japan to call timeout.
Yeah, it's great play. You can see the troubles that they're having size-wise, trying to keep Iran off the boards. It doesn't happen that time, and this is, I imagine, what Tom Hovas wants to talk about. Those boards, they need to work harder to secure, particularly on the defensive end. Interesting to see what he says in the huddle.
That's our base, right? Okay. Defense, you have to rebound, don't think. Rebound. All right, let's go. Let's go.
Well, you think once you get Haddadi out of the game, it might get a little bit easier, but Iran don't miss a beat. And Jamshidi has just been, after a difficult shooting performance on day one, has just been lights out. And here he is coming out and tickling the twine from everywhere. He's got 7 points. But overall, it's a balanced attack for Iran. 7 for Yakchali as well. Kazemi has 2. Pazratofte now has 2. And, of course, Haddadi has 4. Hassanzadeh also in the game, guarding Luke Evans now. Watanabe and Hassanzadeh somehow fell over, but Watanabe, for some reason, took off too fast now. Jamshidi, he's been the man, backing up Kawamura, and basketball goes out of bounds and back over to Japan. And you can see with Iran, maybe the strategy is going to be to try to post up on Kawamura, but that was Watanabe's attempt, and great block by Iran's Kazemi.
Yeah, without a doubt, you know, that's Iran's plans. Whether Haddadi's on the floor or not, it's the paint where they want to get their work done. They want to go in and use their size advantage. It looks like we're going to have to, I think Jamshidi, is it? It's going to have to head to the bench, or is it? Yeah, Jamshidi's going to have to head to the bench on a blood substitution. And
sounds kind of harsh, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The blood substitution.
It does indeed. Well, I think he's got a slight cut on his knee. Is probably the way your mum would describe it. A graze on your knee. But yeah, Japan haven't looked like they've been able to control this game at all. Iran look on top at the moment, not just score, but flow.
Suda and difficult 3, really, and Yakchali. And perhaps what we didn't really emphasize as much with Iran was the size. You know, maybe at the guard.
Yeah,
absolutely. That impacts the game with Yakchali and Jamshidi having the ball a lot. Here's Yakchali, and he's just so good. Look at the confidence that he's got, born from years and years of experience now with Iran.
And I think that first game, you know, the 31 points he scored in the first game will certainly have given him confidence for this particular tournament.
So,
and I like that from Kawamura. So at one end, we see Iran exploiting the fact that Japan primarily have an undersized backcourt lineup.
right.
And at the other end, they have to do the opposite. They have to say, okay, you may have size in this, but we've got a quick first step. A really interesting battle that's shaping up here now.
Harimoto driving in and getting the foul called on Hassanzadeh, who needs to be careful about how he, again, approaches the referees. So Haddadi and Jamshidi Jafarabadi are going to come back into the game. And I think Hassanzadeh, nope, it's going to be Resafer and Kazemi that are going to go out.
In the first two games, Haddadi played 24 minutes on average. I have a feeling he might play a few more minutes today, but
He looks in pretty good shape, though, doesn't he?
he certainly does. He certainly does. I think the two issues are, one, he's not going to get out and run transition too much. You know, we've seen one transition break, which I think was strong, and he got a score from it. But the biggest concern I have for Iran when Haddadi's on the floor is that perimeter defense. If Japan go to 5 out, play no player inside at all, and they can all shoot, is Haddadi going to chase Japan's shooters off the perimeter?
Harimoto makes 1 of 2 for Japan. Very interesting to see the role that Pazirote is going to play, and Kawamura has to be careful again. And already being warned by the Australian referee that that demonstration is not going to be tolerated. A little bit of a protest, and so technical foul?
No, not technical foul. They're just not lining up for the first of the two.
I just seen so many technicals, I just assumed maybe they had called one.
No, they got the warning. They got the warning.
You would have thought that the good start was imperative for Iran, especially the way that Japan finished against Syria, or the way they ripped them to shreds. And the good start is what Iran had. They're now with their biggest lead of the game, 8 points.
Yeah, I think Japan, great shooting side, and what the shooters want, they want confidence. You know, they want to know that they're in rhythm, they're in range, and that they're good to go. And but so far, Japan haven't been able to do that. They haven't been able to get that form.
Well, how about that? Inoue strokes it. And that's the problem for Iran. They've got so many shooters for Japan. Jamshidi has it knocked away, and the ball goes out of bounds. And I think if he'd let that go, maybe that would have been Iran's ball.
I think potentially, maybe him chasing after it tells it wouldn't have been, as we see Inoue hitting that 3. And that is the problem for Iran. You can't chase 5 people off the perimeter. Who'd you pick to chase?
Kawamura. Oh. Look at that. Oh! Yoshi missed the easy layup. It was a great work from Kawamura. We're laughing because Kawamura and Haddadi, smallest man on the court, going up around, running circles with the tallest man on the court, Haddadi chasing him.
Putting a spin by Kawamura.
Jamshidi. And over the outstretched hands of Haddadi.
He's a little bit like a Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote at that point, wasn't it? Just watching him going past him and him going, expecting Haddadi to get the anvil out and try and stop him.
So Haddadi goes out. He's going to get a breather here at the end of the quarter. And Kazemi comes back in, the real workhorse. Final seconds ticking off the clock. Japan's got to go. 3, Kawamura, fouled by Hassanzadeh. So 3 fouls on Hassanzadeh.
Yeah.
Mashayeki already has 2, but nobody else in foul trouble. Nobody else with a foul for Iran. And not to suggest that Iran don't need Hassanzadeh, but in the grand scheme of things, maybe expendable overall. You don't worry too much about him.
This is the problem you have, though. Haddadi had, what, 5 seconds to sit down on the bench and rest his bones before he's back out because Hassanzadeh picks up his 3rd foul. It's clear that that's a straight swap.
But maybe gives them a little bit more of a chance offensively here.
Yep.
Although I doubt it's going to figure into it. They could always put Zangane in just for a couple of seconds. This makes me think they're looking for Haddadi to do something here. Nope, it's just going to be Jamshidi launching it. And it's the backboard, but that's it. So a little bit of a recovery by Japan at the end, but you have to tip your hat to Iran. They've come out, done what they wanted to do. They lead it 27-24 over Japan.
And not just looking at, you know, the score, the 3-point lead. I think Iran will just be happier. I think they are setting the tone a little bit more in this game. And ultimately, for me, that's going to be the winner. The team that sets the tone, whether we play a slower paced, half-court, you know, paint-based game, or whether we run and gun and shoot threes, that will decide who comes away with the win in this game. But Japan won't be unhappy. They've not played anywhere near their potential at the moment, and they're within 3 points. It's not exactly a bad situation to be in, but still plenty more to come from both of these teams. You have that feeling that they're just starting to warm up.
Well, Tominaga came in first, and then he was spelled by Suda. And Yuki Tagashi came out and did what he needed to do. I mean, it wasn't an issue about Japan hitting 3-pointers. It was just that Iran were also getting what they wanted at the other end. And again, that savvy of Haddadi, not just on offense, but defense. And it all spelled a very good start for Iran. They led by as many as 8, but now it's 3. Download the app, Courtside 1891, for streams, schedules, and scores. Use the barcode there for your smartphone, and you'll have everything at your fingertips.
Interesting to see as well, Japan running through 10 players in their roster within that first quarter, whilst Iran just using an 8-man rotation so far. Yeah, we've seen it in this tournament, teams running shorter rotations. Comes back to bite them a little bit in the 4th quarter.
And good save by Japan.
That's a good pass by Yakshali.
Look at Haddadi go.
But this is exactly what Coach Hovas was talking about at the start. Do not let him near the rim. That's pretty much the one directive you have against Haddadi. Do not let him near the rim. Body him, push him, you know, cause him to stay away from the rim.
Watanabe back to Evans. Kawamura. Bounce pass. And fouled by Pazirote.
And that's the second time Kawamura's done that kind of cut through and a turn back on himself and look for that baseline cut. It's almost an absolute repeat of the last time he did that.
So Pazirote has some good minutes, goes out, and Resafer comes back into the game. So both free throws made by Takuma Sato. Yakchali. All right. Guarded by Kawamura. Posting him up. Turns around. Gosh. They look so solid, Iran, here in the early going against Japan. clearly know what they want to do. Oh, what a pass.
Wow.
Great pass by Kawamura, zipping those passes around.
Yeah, leading the competition in assists, and it's no real surprise. 6.5 assists a game across those first 2 games, and his vision is unreal. The way he sees the floor and the channels and the lanes that he can pass through, only really matched by his ability to execute those passes as well.
Kawamura. Haddadi with the board. There's Yakchali, really the key figure in all of this. He's already got 14 points. Give and go, puts it up and in. What performance from Team Melli. And driving in Haddadi with another block. Nishida back in, gets it to Evans. Has it knocked away by who else but Yakchali, who now is on the break. And again, spinning, and his pass intercepted by Nishida quickly to Kawamura. They find the open jumper for Takuma Sato.
And the game pace is high at the moment, but I think the matchup between Yakchali and Kawamura is wrong for Japan. I think they need to switch Kawamura away from someone who is so strong on the offensive end.
Jamshidi from deep. You'd almost be tempted to give it to Yakchali every single time down the floor right now. Boy, he's been handling that matchup. And that ball was kicked by Haddadi. Looks like he might need another breather. Masayaki comes in for Yakchali.
And for me, that's almost how I look at it. You know, Japan have to kind of zoom out of the moment that they're in within this game. Haddadi will get tired. His contribution will reduce, I imagine, as the game progresses, because he's going to have to play more minutes.
Tagashi back in the game for Kawamura and misses from 3. Jamshidi, once again, the give and go for Iran. They just make it so simple. Traditional basketball. And Haddadi, it's pretty easy, isn't it? The principles don't really change over the years. Nine-point advantage, their biggest of the game. Tagashi, that's not going to count because Luke Evans fouled Masayeki, who was slow to get up.
Yeah, just a little lean of the shoulder from Evans.
I mean, there's no, you know, Iran have talent, but I think perhaps what was not fully understood or appreciated was the experience that they brought into this game, having competed and been so successful in this competition over the years. And Jamshidi earns a trip to the free throw line.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of unknown, the unquantifiable is just the amount of games at high level that this Iranian team has played. Just completely outranks the much younger Japanese roster, and that's showing at the moment. That's clearly showing at the moment that the Japanese roster, slightly inexperienced. You can see on the offensive end things aren't going their way, and they're not adapting and reacting in real time.
In case you're wondering, Japan 38 in the FIBA World Ranking, and Iran number 23. So if there is a favorite on paper, I guess it's probably Iran.
It's not far off the score we've got right now.
That's right. And Jamshidi makes both free throws.
Coach Armaganu will be happy. He's clearly done a good job in the scouting of this Japanese team. He's got a plan together to limit their threats.
Nishida hands it off to Watanabe, and he is fouled by Zangane.
He's been pretty much neutralized so far, Watanabe. 3 points, 4 rebounds, just 1 from 3 from the field. Been on the floor over 11 minutes now.
Tagashi steps into another one. Oh, rattles out. Iran looked to turn the screw a little bit, up 37-26. Jamshidi turns, and flying in is Takuma Sato, and he's fouled by Masayeki. So Masayeki comes out with Yakchali coming back into the game after he gets his breather.
Now for Japan to try and capitalize while Haddadi's on the floor. Zangane is an able replacement, but it's certainly a different dynamic for Iran on the defensive end. There isn't a rim protector there now, and they need to attack.
Watanabe spins, gets in, and Iran hold firm. Now arrested Yakchali goes to Japan. Yakchali.
And Iran,
I think they might have gotten a break there.
Yeah, but they're controlling this game. They're clearly controlling this game. You know, the tempo that the game's being played at is the tempo Iran wants. What Japan are getting on the offensive end is what Iran are giving them. Japan aren't creating and demanding their own offense at the moment.
جمشید بهنام به داخل میاد جمشید میاد یه پیک میده بهنام میاد بیرون به بهنام پاس نمیدی آرمان یه پیک میده به جمشید میاد ارسلان میاد یه پیک میده به جمشید میره اینجا متوجه شدیم بچه‌ها 5 ثانیه.
Well, from the very get-go, Benim Yakchali was showing what a gamer he was. Here's a look at him in action.
Yeah, it truly was. Already 16 points, but it's just the efficiency as well. 6 from 9 from the field. And he is tough to defend. He is a tough assignment. I don't think Japan had the right defensive rotation against him for a few of his scores, but he, you know, I'm not sure there's many players in this tournament, let alone just the Japanese team, that could guard him and keep him quiet.
Well, you talk about MVP candidates. He is definitely one of them at this point of the event. And Kazumi called a little bit slow moving its screen.
And they're the kind of calls that Japan need. That's kind of gives them the extra possession, but they need to make something with it. They're playing a lot of time just passing the ball around the perimeter. They need to be more direct and aggressive.
Tagashi gets it back outside to Nishida, who just gets blocked by Kazumi, and quickly up to, and the rejection by Japan's number 88, Harimoto. So that was quite good defensive play on both ends. Great play by Kazumi.
Yeah, he rotated round well, didn't he? And then Harimoto just helped out, slapping that one off the glass. And wow, this is always important. You know, Japan have stalled offensively, and when that happens, you know, it's tough to get your offense going, but what's not difficult is to raise the defensive intensity, and that's, you know, what Japan need to do. They need to start slowing down Iran's scoring progress until they can get their own offense jump started. Been outscored 10-2 in this second quarter. 5.5 minutes of basketball, and you know, they can't carry on at this rate. Not just this game, they need to look further forward. If Iran are showing you how to beat Japan today, other teams will learn from that lesson.
Well, Iran are just a different proposition than Syria. You have to remember, and Kazakhstan, for that matter.
Fully. Completely different level.
Although I think Japan caught Kazakhstan at a time when Kazakhstan were playing well. Jamshidi, wow! The confidence grows for Iran. They're now up 13 points.
There's very little not to like about Iran right now.
Tagashi, ball front and back of the rim, stays out. An unsportsmanlike foul has been called on Takuma Sato.
And that's the right call. It's an absolutely silly foul right in front of the officials. Yeah.
What in the world?
I have no idea why you would do that. And you can see Coach Hovas's expression, just slumped shoulders, slumped head, and he's like, oh. How can you account for that within your coaching, that a player's going to make that mistake? But Coach Hovas's style, it's not confrontational. You know, he's more mentoring and working alongside collaboratively. But when you see one of your players make a mistake like that, it's tough not to confront them with that.
It's just kind of inexplicable, really.
Yeah, especially as he's one of the more experienced players on the roster, 27 years old.
I mean, you might do that if you're in the paint and you're kind of boxing out or jockeying for position. Well, he's been the star of the game. And in the grand scheme of things, he might just be the best player at this Asia Cup so far.
He's making a claim for that position, that's for sure. You know, the first 3 games he's looked very, very good, particularly that first game and this one here.
Oh, wow. Haddadi! This is unreal. 17-point lead for Iran.
And that was good defense from Haramoto. There's nothing more he can do, just pure quality from Haddadi.
And Yoshi goes in, has it knocked away by Jamshidi.
And I can't see a weak link in this Iranian team at all. Every player that's come onto the floor has done their job to near perfection.
Zangane. Well, that would have really been a hurtful bruise to Japan's chances. So Watanabe is going back to the free throw line, where he's 1 of 2. And Kai Taves comes into the game for the first time to replace Yuki Tagashi.
And I actually think that's a good option, because I think Taves can play at the point guard position, but has slightly more size and slightly more strength defensively for Japan to use.
And he can also maybe give you a little bit more potential inside. So he takes his time, Watanabe. Gets it back to a 15-point game. Yudai Nishida now back in the game with the 2 fouls. Jamshidi. You know, the funny thing, yeah, here comes Watanabe now. And in the lane, and now that's 4 consecutive points for Yuta Watanabe. And I like how the Iran coach uses his timeout. Saeed Armagani doesn't want Japan to get on a run.
Yeah, fully understandable, particularly when it's one of their superstars that's starting to warm up. You know, that is a player that can score a lot of points very, very quickly. Their biggest lead was 17. That's been trimmed to 13. It's a good move by Coach Armagani, just to try and stem that flow a little bit, make sure his team head to the locker room with at least a double-digit lead, if not more.
وقتی میسمچ میشه بعد فضاها رو باز بکنید. فضاها رو باید باز بکنید. اینجا میسمچ رو پاس رو بده، باز شو دوباره بگیر. اگر نتونستید بدید به داخل بدید به این که این حمله بکنه. پاس بومرنگ رو تو نره. بچه‌ها پرس بریک اومد.
Tell you a very interesting stat. 14 points for Iran off of the Japanese turnovers.
And that 10 of those were in the first quarter. That was what enabled them to
propel.
Yeah,
yeah,
it really did. It enabled them to grab the stranglehold of this game. They fully capitalized on any mistake Japan made. You know, Japan were clearly approaching the game, trying to work their way, feel themselves into the game. And Iran just hit the ground 100% straight from the opening tip.
Reza Far. And Zhang going to end the game for Iran. Here's Reza Far, and just grazes the net.
And I think potentially this is a taller lineup for Japan. And I think potentially, and it's weird to say this when you've got Tominaga sitting down and Togashi sitting down, this might be their best five to face Iran right now.
Watanabe. Jamshidi powering his way down back outside to Yakhshali, who sees the shot clock. Now he misses everything.
Man, the fallibility of Iran starting to show up. They're not immortal. They do have some weaknesses.
And Watanabe goes in. He's fouled by Haddadi, who challenged him at the rim. And then he breaks out the gun show. And Haddadi laughs, I think because he just raised his hands. No, he did kind of bring it down a little bit. See Haddadi.
The thing is, you have to love the way that Haddadi approaches this game. He gives it absolutely everything, but he's the elder statesman now in the Asia Cup and watches these young guns come through, flexing the guns. And he's been there, done that.
He was the MVP in 2017 when they made it to the final, Iran, before falling to Australia. Watanabe clearly trying to assume the mantle of leader here for Japan in this difficult moment.
Yeah, and he has to. He's up to 12 points now, has 6 rebounds. He hasn't shot the ball particularly well yet, but you can feel that he's growing his way into this game.
Haddadi fades, and Nishida rebounds. Now Watanabe in the open floor and loses control of it. Great job by Yakhshali. I don't know if he knocked it away or if Watanabe just fumbled it away. But it's Iran possession. Pazirofte again. He gets blocked by Watanabe. Gets it back, puts it up and in. What an X factor he's been today.
Yeah, he has. That's a great job. That's a 2 exchange. 5s on the floor. That's, you know, that's great to see. Two young players just going head to head, toe to toe, but respect for each other.
Kaite splits.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's going to be basketball for Japan.
That was a hell of a move by Taves. Just a change of direction and putting it behind his back. Completely lost the defense and
that's probably
where the finish.
That's one of the benefits you get with him. He's much more of a penetrator, I think, than Togashi. Togashi will penetrate, but he'll dish.
But even more with Kawamura. Kawamura, you know, is lightning. A great point guard, but it's all about the pass.
Watanabe from deep. And then keeps it alive, but Yakhshali has it. And again, Iran now can hold it pretty much for the last shot. I feel like a light just went out. Here goes Jamshidi. Pump fake, and he got Watanabe off his ground, and he needs to be careful how he protests. Here's Jamshidi again. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's the right call. Watanabe's coming forward on that play. If he jumps straight up to play that defense and Jamshidi jumps forward, then there's no way there's going to be a call made. But the problem you've got is Jamshidi has a right to make some forward movement, and Watanabe has no right to make that movement.
5.2 seconds left, so there's plenty of time.
No,
I'm always surprised they haven't put Kawamura back in.
Yeah, so am I, but they have brought some speed on for this last 5.2 seconds into Tagashi and Tominaga. I think it's pretty clear what Coach Hovas's plan is for this last 5.2 seconds.
Well, they could always put another, even Kawamura, just put your fastest team out there.
Although he has got a timeout to use as well.
Now, Jamshidi's been excellent today.
Yeah, exceptionally throughout the entire game as well. It's not been
13 points.
Not been a good first quarter and slowed down. It's just been consistent throughout the entire first half.
He makes both. Here's Tagashi. And Watanabe puts it up from 3. Interesting. I'm surprised they wouldn't try to get to the rim with that, with their speed.
Watanabe certainly doesn't lack confidence in his own abilities. You know, there might have been better options in that play than that.
Well, at the end of the second quarter, we're at halftime now. Iran leading at 48-34 over Japan.
That has been an impressive first 20 minutes from Iran. You know, we thought this was going to be a very, very close game, but they have shown some dominance in that first half. Japan continue to shoot the ball well from outside, but Iran are doing it pretty much absolutely everywhere right now. In the paint, on the perimeter, you name it. As we expected, they're winning the rebounding battle 20-15 over Japan. I still feel there's more to give in this game though. Top scorers, Yakchalik with 18 points, Jamshidi with 14, Haddadi with 10, and Watanabe leads Japan with 11. I just feel like Coach Hovas is going to find a plan B. He's going to find something different to throw at this game in the second half.
Well, it definitely needs to. I would have thought that the speed of Japan would have bothered Iran more, but they've coped with that like it's no problem at all.
I think the problem you've got is that Iran are hitting a lot of their shots. The speed of Japan is essentially very, very important when they're grabbing defensive rebounds and going out. If they're having to inbound the ball after a score, any chance of their speed being a use in that quick transition is gone. You know, Iran at the moment on the floor are 18 from 36, so 50%. You know, they're not getting those opportunities. They're 8 from 8 from the free throw line. So all of these opportunities they would have to use that speed are being swallowed up by just how efficient Iran are on the offensive end. And you kind of look at this now and you think back to those first 2 games for Japan where we were waxing lyrical about them, and understandably so. They put in amazing performances, historic performances in some cases, but you wonder, would they have been better off having a bit of a challenge at some point before they came to this game? You know, just a little bit of a challenge. They had the first 20 minutes with Kazakhstan, but outside of that, they've had 60 minutes of basketball where pretty much they've just played however they wanted to play. They've done whatever they wanted to do without anyone putting a block up in front of them.
Well, I just think it stands to reason going up against Iran, winners of the FIBA Asia Cup in 2007, 9, 13. You know, team that has played at played the last Olympics, played World Cups. It's a good team, and even though they're a little bit longer in the tooth, a little bit older with Haddadi anyway at 37.
But they've adjusted their game because of that.
Yep.
You know,
and maybe in terms of defensive pressure, maybe that could be an answer for Japan. I guess they didn't want to show too much before halftime, if indeed that is going to be the case, because it would give Iran a chance to go back and regroup at halftime. But anyway, it's 48-34, Iran looking good against Japan at halftime.
Who will you become when the moment arrives? and you're carrying the expectations of an entire nation, representing your people and their dreams, the colorful faces in the streets, the screaming fans in the stands. It's time to make your move. All eyes on you, all hope, all heart. Because when you win for all.
He's pushing El Dwari out.
There you
nice
go.
Give and go. And this is where El Dwari is intelligent.
Yep.
China respond, and the pass intercepted by, look at the star. Here he is, folks. Put him on the billboards. He is taken off, and Chun strikes from deep.
Just put on a poster by Al Dwari. Look at this.
Agassi gets down to the baseline, his pass intercepted. Great job, McDowell White hands it off to Lob! Fawn Maker!
Wow. He should be fresh.
Holy cow, Laguna! Just casually goes up for the dunk.
Easy does it for Ra.
Here's Gavahita. Oh, wow. Somehow managed to, and it is up with Bowden, he's fouled. Well, that worked out about as well as it could have for Indonesia, Australia. These Korean fans, K-pop fans, ought to be cheering for him on that one. One of the plays of the game. Look at Choi handle the ball. He's the Korean magic, and he gets it over to Laguna for a potential three-point play.
Yeah, and this is why Choi for me is important for Korea.
Coming up on the 1 minute mark here. And Dwari goes in, and boy does he put the Saudi on the poster. You feel kind of bad for Al-Hawsawi, maybe a bit naive.
He'll be having nightmares for weeks on that one.
Guess that's not to pick up a third foul. Freddie, he was going in for a dunk.
That's great defense leading to fast break offense. Welcome back to Jakarta. It's half-time here in the big game between Iran and Japan, fighting for top spot in their group here in Asia Cup 2022. At the halfway stage for Japan, well, who else? Yuta Watanabe. A huge first half for him, 11 points, 6 rebounds. He's also drawn 5 fouls from Iran. They see him as a threat. They've tried to lock him out by fouling him. As you saw, Haddadi there knocking him to the floor, but he's got the gun show for his teammates on the bench. A phenomenal first half for him. Only slight cloud over that box score. He's 1 from 5 from outside. He has forced it a little bit from the perimeter. As for Iran, well, who else would it be as well? Benham Yakhshale. He's had a big first half, 18 points, 3 rebounds. continues to put himself forward as one of the best players in Asia, certainly within this tournament. He has been phenomenal, drawing 4 fouls as well. He has been a handful for Japan to deal with. Just a versatility in his game. He can get to the bucket, he can step out and shoot the 3 ball. He is tough to stop. At the halfway stage, though, Iran lead by 14, 48-34. It's a good first 20 minutes from Iran. They've looked in control for the majority of that time. Coach Armagani got his game plan right, and it's over to Coach Hovas to come out with, I think, with a plan B, realistically.
Well, one thing that this reminds me of a little bit in the Kazakhstan game is Kazakhstan came out and shot the ball very well. Iran have shot the ball exceptionally well. You know, those aren't, you know, they have had some layups, but they've also hit a lot of jump shots. But at the end of the day, you know, Yakhchali and Jamshidi are good shooters. So I don't know that they can expect them to cool off. But in terms of rebounding, 20-15, they're being out-rebounded. Iran getting some more second chances. And really, I would have thought that maybe it was going to be Iran that was going to have more steals in this game. But right now it's, Japan would have more steals, but it's Iran that has 4.
Yeah, both these teams are good on ball pressure. Iran are leading the tournament in steals per game. They've got 16.5 steals a game, whilst Japan have 12.5. But sorry, the other way around. But it's for me, the biggest issue I see here is, and I'm sure Coach Hovas will have identified this. You're right, 2 players primarily of that outside threat, though. Yakhchali and Jamshidi, they're the ones hitting 3s. No one else has hit anything else. So they're the only players that Japan really need to respect right now on the perimeter shot. So they're the only 2 that Japan need to chase out. What I also think is they need to spend more time thinking about who is assigned to Yakhchali. Who on the defensive end is going to pick him up. It's not right for Kawamura or Togashi or even Tominaga to pick him up. They need to put a bit more size. I think someone like a Taves would be the right type of player to put on him. Someone that's a little bit bigger, still has good quick foot speed, but can be a little bit more physical with him. Because I think that's going to play to the advantage for Japan. But it is for Japan to change. It's absolutely for Japan to change this game. Iran, if you said to them before the game, before the tournament, you'll be up by 14.
Yeah,
he'd have absolutely grabbed your hands off to take that. It's a phenomenal first half from Iran. They're exactly where they want to be, but we have seen Japan score in a hurry. So 14 points for a Japanese side, that's not a big deficit.
No, but it's definitely not. It's definitely not what I expected. You know, you kind of fall in love with the Japan style of play and how they took apart Syria, but that's the bottom line. They took apart Syria.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't facing a team.
Absolutely.
And you know, so in the Iranian case, it's not just probably the coaching staff that's drawing up a strategy. Probably the players are also involved in that, and you know, the experienced players. And Kazemi is elite.
Yes.
In terms of his ability to play on both ends of the floor, but particularly his role with this Iran team.
Yeah, they've got, and that's the thing. The experience they've got enables, you know, Coach Armagani to put the plan in place. But the players, they react with it though.
Yeah.
They're flexing it, they're adapting it to the tiniest little bits. It might have been drawn up for one player, but they've seen a better matchup that they can run it through, and that's clearly how Iran are playing the game. And that's, you know, we talk about old legs and fatigue, but on the flip side of that, they're able to do that. They have the experience and they trust each other. They're quite a cohesive unit, you know, to be able to react to exactly what Japan throw at them in real time. This is the first test for Japan, though.
Pasirofte has come out and given a good, solid, almost 6 minutes. You know, hit a couple of big buckets to kind of keep the momentum going. So Mashayeki, while he hasn't scored, he's only taken 1 shot, and he's been a nuisance as usual for the opposition. But the main problem is 32 of Iran's 48 points is scored by Yakhchali and Jamshidi.
حجاب سه جمشید حامد نه این بر حامد این بر ارسلان اینجا نوید بهنام خب دقت کن جمشید میاد دور حامد میچرخه میری بیرون تو با میگیری میدی به حامد خب بهنام اونجا
Don't lose their physical play. All right? We good? Understood. Let's go. It's open. Go.
Yuta Watanabe is clearly feeling responsibility, but as good as he is and as big as his name is, it's all about Japan and how they function as a unit.
And that's one of the lessons I think Watanabe has to take from that first half. You know, yes, he was influential. Yes, he's going to be important. But he needs to judge it a little bit better.
Absolutely. So,
you know, taking too many shots from outside. Just, yeah, 1 from 5 from deep, and they weren't exactly contested shots. Just needs to be a little bit more pressures on his shot selection.
So to complicate things for Japan, it's going to be Iran that's going to start with possession. Last time these teams played at the FIBA Asia Cup back in 2015. And that was Iran winning it 68-63. They also beat them in 2015 earlier in the group stage. It's 86-48. So, of course, different teams for the most part. Not a strong comparison. Certainly Japan has changed dramatically. And Haddadi starts things off with just a clutch kind of turnaround, hook, jump shot, whatever.
And Evans can't do any more than that. That is good defense. He's undersized against Haddadi. That is just good defense. He needs to play that every possession though.
Yoshi, they had it covered. Kazumi, now it's going to come down to shot clock. Watanabe gets in, and boy, just a brilliant drive by Watanabe.
And that's really smart. Not going up the front side of the ring, going up on the reverse side so he can use the ring as some protection, because you know what Haddadi's looking for. He's looking to swat it away every time.
So they've got Nishida on Yakchali now. But look at Yakchali, almost was able to tap that ball up and in. Such a clever player. And Jamshidi impedes his progress, and Watanabe very alertly knows the contact is coming, so he makes sure the foul is called.
Yeah, that's the move from Watanabe. Just a strong, strong move. He needs to draw Haddadi away from the ring to exploit him.
There's what. Yep, now Tagashi. Nishida with a hand to the face. Luke Evans there. Goes up. Oh, boy, terrific finish with Haddadi there.
And 2 plays defensively that we're used to Haddadi just bossing the situation and bullying the offense. But this time it's the shoes on the other foot, and Japan come away with 2 scores.
Again, Nishida is the man on Yakchali. Here's Jamshidi, and he's guarded by the taller Yoshi. Evans trying to contend with Haddadi, who goes in, and look at Kazumi coming in and getting a huge rebound. Resafar comes out, and Watanabe gets the rebound this time.
And if Evans works that hard to stop Haddadi, the rest of the Japanese roster has to grab that rebound.
Oh, look, there's Haddadi getting the block. And now he's going to take his time getting back down the floor.
I think this is a better matchup. Nishida trying to pick up Yakshali. The only issue he's got is he is on fouls too.
Tagashi is Resafar. Instead of driving, he tries to shoot over Tagashi and misses. And Watanabe missing, and now Resafar drives in. Boy, that's a big swing, but the game playing more at the pace now that Japan would like. And there's Tagashi, and he misses the layup.
And that's a rarity. That little hesitation step from Tagashi is almost an automatic too, but you're right. This is the pace Japan want to play the game. They want to force some of the more senior members of the Iranian roster to keep running.
Jamshidi loses it, and now it's going to lead to a break. Look at Yakchali hustle back on defense. Terrific play by Yakchali's. Little things like that, especially if Japan come away with no points on this possession. So many greats have played for Iran in the last 15 years, really the last 2 decades. And he is moving into that elite territory. Of course, it needs to be confirmed, I guess, with titles.
Yeah, I was going to say, you struggle to get to great status or legendary status without gold medals around your neck. But you're right.
But don't forget also, when those other titles were won by Iran, there was no Australia and New Zealand in FIBA Asia.
Very true. It's tougher to get those medals now, that's for sure.
It's tough. It's definitely tougher. And once again, a 12-point deficit. Just 2 free throws missed on the day, those by Japan, but they're 12 of 14.
Now Japan are going to jump into a zone. I'm not sure I would have. They were having success. Why would they change it?
And that is Kazumi, I think, or was it Haddadi? But those 2 guys.
Absolutely foolish from Japan. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Their defense was working well. Changing away from it seems foolish.
And now another block by Haddadi. And just when it seemed like Japan started to get a little bit of momentum, it's ebbing back to Iran. Missed layups, blocked shots. Pazirofti hands it off to Haddadi. Content to turn around and hit that turnaround jump shot. That is what you call elite.
Yeah, it truly is.
Watanabe pulls up on the break.
And just like that, the game has switched back to Iran's favor. Iran slowing it down, running what they want to run. Watanabe just rushing things, really rushing things. He needs to show a little bit more composure than that.
And Reza Far launches it. He was trying to get a foul. Here comes Tagashi. Luke Evans, he knows he's not allowed to take the long 2, so he has to get back behind the line. Watanabe, turn around, good shot, good player, and player that, after a couple of perhaps questionable shots, continues to back himself.
And don't get me wrong, great players have to do that. You have to have the confidence that that's just a blip and the next shot's going down. You just have to take a learning from it, though. Was that the right shot?
Will the help come? Are they going to count it? 2 free throws coming. And so far, you have to say, Haddadi is putting in one of his great performances for Iran.
He is, but his energy levels are paying for it. He is now blowing in mid-court. I'm not sure he's got that many more minutes at a high level that we expect from him left in this game. So he's played 20 minutes now. He's only averaged 24 minutes across those first 2 games. So
16 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists for Haddadi. And that doesn't tell the whole story. He's also blocking shots. And look at that. Nothing but net on the free throw.
He's absolutely influential. Absolutely influential. For me now, if I'm Coach Armagani, though, I've got to manage those minutes. We've got to lead back out. I'm taking him out of the game. I want him to sit down, take a rest. I can bring him back in earlier than if I do.
Boy, Watanabe drives all the way down.
I think they are going to bring him out at the next opportunity.
Yeah, Hassanzadeh is waiting to check in. Jamshidi to get it to Mashayeki. Pulls in for the little mid-ranger, and that has been some of the great work for Iran, those offensive boards. And look at that, Kazumi coming in from the weak side and putting it up and in, the putback. So Watanabe's going to try again, and it's short.
There's a point he's going to have to accept that someone else is going to have to come into take those threes, or he's going to have to create something different from himself. At the moment, Haddadi's just looking at him going, shoot the three. Shoot the three, young man. You're not hitting it.
Yakchali gets it down to Kazemi, finds Jamshidi. Look at him rotate the basketball. Boy, if Masayeki had been able to hit that, that would have been huge. Tagashi. Threes are not falling like they did.
No, but what kind of offense was used then to create that shot? Nothing. There were no, no
Look
build
at the
up.
back door, and he's fouled as well by Nishida. He punished Nishida for overplaying. Iran playing championship winning basketball right now.
And Coach Hovas is going to have to find some form of alteration right now. I know it's tough to take your superstar player off the floor, but Watanabe isn't doing them any favors on the offensive end. The rest of the team are falling into that process now, just taking early shots rather than building an offense, and it's not healthy for Japan. Yes, they want to push transition, but if it's not there, run your offensive sets. That will create your best shot in the 24 seconds, not something individual.
Kawamura in. Kawamura for three. And he'll stay at this end. Foul on Iran. So
Iran have been so impressive with this 18-point lead now and the way they've done it. You know, we've raved about it, but it has been built on their veteran years. It has been built on all that experience at the highest levels that these players have. It's been phenomenal performance for them.
Harimoto has replaced Luke Evans. And Watanabe loses it and goes back over to Iran. And now the ball gets away from Hassanzadeh. He's able to chase it down. Jamshidi, Jafrabadi. In Iran, we're seeing them in all their glory right now. They are up 64-44. And look at Kazemi coming in, seeing where the pass was going.
You know, before this game, we were saying both of these teams, well, they haven't been tested yet. Iran have been tested, and my goodness me, I don't know what grade I'd give them, but an A+ right now seems to be the right grade to give them for this test.
Watanabe quickly up ahead, and Suda. And great hustle down the floor. Yakchali, look at him. Look at the emotion from Benim Yakchali.
Look how quick those hands are and how precise they are as well. That is just great hustle. And he's chasing down every transitions that you see Japan go out on. Should be an easy two for Japan in that situation. They're just given no opportunities.
Gajampur, the impressive youngsters checked in for Iran. Zanganeh also coming in. They have just absolutely prepared for this game well. They've reacted well, they're focused.
And for me, they found the right balance between trying to neutralize Japan whilst also playing their basketball.
Yeah, and now Zanganeh knocks it away from Harimoto. Masayeki trying to keep it away from Kawamura. Jamshidi. And the pass to, wow, Hassanzadeh! They're picking them apart, they're cutting them up like a piece of meat, and they're going hard. Again, it doesn't matter who it is. Surgically, and Iran imperious. with 11 minutes, 5 seconds remaining, in command against Japan.
ちっちゃいじゃないですか。ちっちゃい。もう15しましょう。15アグレッシブに。15から赤チャンスあれば赤。Okay、トラップちょっともうターンオーバーさせて走って。とりあえずもう最後の1分で、なんか切り替えしないと。Okay？ で走って。みんなシュートじゃないですか。Let's go!
And you wouldn't expect anything else from Coach Hovas, but just a calm, direct, details-orientated timeout. But you're absolutely right. This has been clinical by Iran. They've completely neutralized the huge amount of threat that Japan has offensively, as Haddadi has his double-double, and what a double-double, 19 and 10. A well-earned sit-down and a drink.
Yeah, just incredible. I mean, we cover these guys over the years. We feel like maybe the best of Iran has passed us by, and really, you know, a win here gets them straight to the quarterfinals, and it leaves Japan with a big game that they're going to have to win. Maybe that extra game would be good for Japan. I don't know, but right now it's
not going to be an easy game. New Zealand or Philippines is. Yeah. I don't think Japan really want to go and face that.
There's definitely an element of Japan wanting to ride Watanabe.
I'm not sure if there's an element of them wanting to ride him or him wanting them to ride him.
Yeah, and you want him to be involved, but you also don't want to. You still want him to show up when he's available, if you know what I mean. So he wants to play, and he wants to do his thing,
and he needs to be that.
At the end of the day, yeah, but yeah, in the grand scheme of things. When the shots keep, you know, I mean, he's one of, what, from deep, 1 of 7, 6 of 15 overall. Anyway, Zanganeh from the right. So every second, the rest of the way, you would think has to be capitalized on. Here is Tominaga. There's also that element of, did Japan use up all of their threes in that last game? I know they've hit some today, but now just 6 of 23.
Yeah, they're averaging 43%. They're nowhere near that today.
Little plays like that. The ball batted back out for a second opportunity, and then driving in, and nobody meets him. And Tominaga. So back to the drawing board for Japan. Iran flexing their championship caliber muscle right now. They lead Japan 68-46, 10 minutes remaining.
Yeah, it's been a phenomenal third quarter again for Iran, outscoring Japan 20-12. You look across the board, they won't be overly happy with their three-point shooting, but I don't think they'll care when they look at the actual score, 68-46. This couldn't be going any better for Iran right now. And a comment you made for me within that third quarter that was key was it's coming from everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, every player that's coming on the floor, they know what the game plan is. They know what they're supposed to be doing, how they're going to contribute to the game plan. And you see the passion as well. You see how important it is to all of these players this Asia Cup. Now, for some of them, it might be their last Asia Cup, so you can understand that adds a bit more importance to it. But I don't think that's the case for them all, and they're all approaching it like it's do or die, which is, you know, that adds extra to their momentum.
I mean, for me, you've got players that, yeah, they understand their roles. Kazemi, one of the best players in the team, doesn't, you know, you look at his stats, you look at his scoring, and you wouldn't think that's the case, but he doesn't have to score.
No.
You know, he has to rebound. He has to get in there and crash the offensive boards. He has to step in front of the player when he's trying to receive the pass in the lane and go the other way. I mean, he's just amazing. Scan that in, folks, for Courtside 1891 in your smartphone for stream, schedules, scores. It's all there. It's just a combination of things. It's experience. It's
I think the other thing you've got
maturity of Jamshidi and Yakhchali.
These players don't think that their role is just on one end of the floor, and that's really led for me by Yakhchali. How hard he works to play defense. It's, you know, these are all two-way players.
Yeah, they play well at both ends of the court. Kai Taves back in now. Tominaga had a hand in the face. And look at that, even on that play where Suda able to bat the ball off of the foot. Iran are able to pick it up. It's all about defensive pressure now. And getting into position a little too late was Inoue. Probably the best thing you can say for Japan at this stage is this is not a game that's going to knock them out of the competition. They've still got time to put this right.
And almost it's, you know, yes, they may have liked to test earlier on, but I think they'll be glad that they didn't have this game maybe in game 1 or game 2, because it might have knocked some of their confidence and made the Kazakhstan game or the Syria game a bit more difficult for them. But they'll have to, you know, look to push on in this last 10 minutes, see what they can do.
And that was Suda. Suda wasn't missing the other day, so I don't, you know, at this stage, you don't really need to bring in the veterans.
No.
I mean, although you've got Jamshidi out there, this is invaluable experience for the other guys. Now Suda, a chance to run again. Taves. And Saeed, Mateen Agachampur with the foul. Three-point shot, and finally something falls. Inoue.
An unlikely source, but they'll take those points from anywhere. But what one thing has shown us today is how reliant Japan are on the three-point shot. You know, they are almost completely reliant on that three-point shot. They do get some points going to the basket.
So you like the balance better from Iran.
Oh,
look at
vastly.
Hassanzadeh gets in there, gets the offensive rebound, and Hassanzadeh gets it back. That just can't happen with Inoue in there. He's got to grab that ball. Great job by Hassanzadeh. He's been tough. I mean, we're just saying we're seeing great performances from so many Iranians. That's an air ball. Hassanzadeh and Japan escape. But Iran able to take a lot of time off the clock as well. Kai Taves into Harimoto.
And I don't think Taves has had enough time on the floor today for me. He's played under 5 minutes, and I think he, as a player and as a, you know, as a body, as his physique, he's much better suited for this game than some of the other guys that have seen higher minutes.
And then Masayeki just loses it out of bounds, and that's going to bring, unfortunately for Japan, a couple of experienced, more experienced players into the game, and Yakhchali and Kazemi. But boy, Hassanzadeh was working his tail end off. He's going to go out. That was the three from Inoue. So Japan have cut it back to 19. But what they can't do is allow Iran to continue to get offensive rebounds.
Yeah, they're not in an easy situation, Japan. The game's slipping away from them, but they need to gain some momentum. Even if they can't come away with the win here today, still plenty of time for them to fight back, particularly how well they can shoot the ball. You know, Suda on his own scored 24 points in 6 minutes, so they can come back into this game, but it's going to take a huge shift in the flow of this game.
جمشید خب اینجا ارسلان خب جمشید یه خود میاد پایین‌تر ارسلان حرکت میکنه اینور متین از آرمان یه پیک میگیره میره پایین یه دبل استگر میدیم برای جمشید میاد بالا اینجا توپو میگیره متوجه شدین بچه‌ها خب دقت بکنید اگر گرفتی توپو همه باز بشن بهنام
Coach Hovas has been forced into some unusual rotations for him, as you see. Watanabe on the bench, he's got his double-double, but he still won't be happy with that performance. 15 points, 10 rebounds, but just 1 from 7 from outside. He certainly struggled to make the impact he wanted to make.
So he called the timeout, trying to get something late in the shot clock. Or maybe he was surprised by that. Maybe he thought there was more time.
No, he was asking for a refresh of the shot clock because it came off the leg of the Japanese player, but the officials rightfully said it wasn't a kick ball.
Shot's just not falling for Japan.
No, it's really not. It's, you know, it's not their day. If their day was against Syria, this is definitely the opposite end of that spectrum.
Jamshidi long two, that's good.
It just shows in this level of tournament how quickly a bubble can be burst. You know, 2 days ago, so much hype around Japanese play.
Taves, I think you're exactly right. I mean, he might not be as blinding fast as Kawamura.
It's not what they've needed today. I think it's...
but defensively, he's sturdier against Yakchali.
Yep, I think it limited Yakchali.
Oh, wow. Is he a talent or what? Agajampur showing it. We saw it in their last game as well against Kazakhstan. Harimoto fouled by Yakchali.
For me, Yakchali, you know, we're talking about obviously the offensive threat. There's the foul. I think he's one of the smartest defenders I've seen in this tournament. You know, the way he plays defense, how he uses his fouls, you know, just super, super high IQ on both ends of the court. And that helps when you start the discussion about those kind of all-tournament teams and tournament MVP and things like that. He has absolutely had an amazing 3 games. He truly has.
And now a well-rested Hamed Haddadi has returned to the fray.
Just what Japan needed.
For the final 6 minutes. Pass gets away, Kai Taves. And now Taminaga scores. Well, you know, I mean, maybe this is something for Hovas that's going to end up being good for him in terms of evaluating his personnel and knowing the situations and seeing more value now in Taves.
You better at least to have this game when it's not a knockout game. That's for sure. You know, if you're going to have a game like this and learn those lessons, there's the safety net of the qualification for the quarterfinals game ahead of them if they can't get the win here today.
Look at Kazemi, he's not going to miss that.
He's not when Haddadi's doing an amazing job of sealing the lane open for him.
Oh, boy. Talk about ability to finish. Even Haddadi was surprised.
That's unreal. You know, the percentage chances, if you were just to say that, that's so low, but he's so talented.
Jamshidi. They're just so, Iran are so strong with the ball, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yakchali and Jamshidi, Kazemi. I mean, it's difficult to get it away from him. Look at this. This is sensational. Kai Taves. He is just fearless getting into the lane.
Giving up 30 centimeters against Haddadi.
When he was in the air, you were thinking he's taking on too much here.
Yeah, at best he's going to get a foul.
He's going to just throw it up.
Yeah.
Inoue brings it down. Played with some authority today. Here's Kai Taves again. Inoue gets it to drop. And back to a 16-point deficit with 4.5 minutes remaining.
That's him 3 from 3 from outside. That's a good performance from...
Inouye's tough.
Yeah, he's done a good job. He stepped into that gap that's been left by some of the more
prolific.
Yeah, the established players not performing at the level we've seen so far.
Jamshidi back, look at him. They don't settle for the layup, they get it outside, and Aghanjampur hits his second three of the game. Good pass. And rattling it in, Harimoto. Boy, Taves is really doing well for Japan.
Yeah, he truly is. And you know, whether they can complete the comeback or not, it's a huge ask for them to do
it's
so.
Unlikely.
It's
16,
still open.
3.5 minutes.
It's still open, but against Iran, it's really, really unlikely. And
not the way they've been playing.
It's still an important 3.5 minutes, though, for Japan. This is about gaining momentum and regaining their confidence. The last thing they want to do is walk away from this game feeling like they might be out of their depth somewhat or not quite at the level to compete at the highest.
That pass was exquisite.
Yeah, it was superb.
I mean, he's got 5 dimes to go with his 4 points. He's only taken 3 shots.
Yeah.
And he's played 9.5 minutes. Not to mention the, you know, pretty good defense. And that time, big man Haddadi doesn't get it to go. Another chance for Taves. And just straight strength even against Pazirofte.
And that's the difference. That's the difference. If that was Kawamorga, Togashi, they don't have the frame to be able to play that way. They can't take the body contact. They have to be a bit more wily. They have to use their speed. And, well, like you say, at least they're learning their lesson maybe from this situation. And Coach Hovas now understands the different options that he has available to him in different situations.
باز همه بازی اومده بالا بچه‌ها همه بازی اومده بالا میتونیم بازی کنیم 5 رو بازی رو ببریم یه خورده تو دوباره تو لوگو گوش کن یه 5 بغل رو میزنیم 5 بغل رو تو آخر آقا حرکت ها رو درست انجام بده حامد بره برگرده از پیک بگیره زیر حلقه بگیره یا خوب شد آقا شد نگیری بچه‌ها اگه گل راحت بخوریم دو تا گل داریم راحت نخوریم یه گل دیگه بعد حامد بزنه بچه‌ها یه گل بعد الان حامد بزنه 5 بغل بزن یلا تیم 1 2 3
You know, games are about matchups. They're about obviously part of the strategy, the matchups, and understanding which players are going to do best against the opposition. Probably Japan have more choices or more decisions to make in that regard versus Iran, who they're going to go with their personnel.
Yeah, and that was, that was kind of the point I was making. It wasn't necessarily just about neutralizing Japan. It was just imposing their game. And they knew, they had the roster, they have the structure to be able to just do that, to run into a game and say, this is how the game's going to be played. Well, you're going to have to tell us different.
This is a vital possession here for Japan to get a stop. Haddadi goes inside. Oh, boy. He is a load, and it doesn't matter. 37, 27, 17. He's just excellent.
Yeah, it takes him to 31 efficiency now.
And there, look at that. He reaches in and forces Tominaga into the turnover.
Unreal. 21 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks. If his legendary status wasn't secured, you have a feeling by the end of this tournament it's going to be locked in for sure.
Wow. They're really getting Aghanjampur into the frame. Ball goes out of bounds. It's crucial for Iran if you think about it. That Aghanjampur, Pazirofte especially, where they're really, the question I have about Iran moving forward after this year, I mean, we could just, maybe in this tournament, is at the guard, where they expect Yakchali and Jamshidi to do a lot of the ball handling. Haddadi goes out. They've got Mashayeki, but where's the other point guard?
Yeah, and that, for me, a lot of coaches will look at it and say, how do I stop Yakchali? If I can stop him, then I have a feeling I'm going to disrupt Iran, and I think I'd agree.
Kai Taves, that time, puts it up from deep.
I think if you can stop this man that's on the ball now, that's a big part of the puzzle.
Yeah. Well, the problem they had in that first half, and this is where Iran were so good, Jamshidi had it going for a while. Yakchali had it going. Haddadi. I mean, it's not easy. And look at him. They've got those veteran options. Kai Taves hustling down the floor, explodes. That's where he needs to be. He needs to drive to the basket and get his points that way.
Yeah, it takes him up to 8 points now, 5 assists, really high efficiency. He's certainly staking a claim for a higher place in the rotation than he's had prior to today's game.
So again, the likelihood is the loser of this game, or excuse me, it's not the likelihood. The loser of this game is going to play the loser of Philippines, New Zealand.
The winner. Or is it the loser? No, it's the loser. Yeah. And then for the quarter-finalists in this, they'll face either Jordan or Chinese Taipei, the winners of this game in the quarter-finals.
Harimoto. I mean, one other thing we haven't really talked about, the qualifiers for the FIBA Basketball World Cup, the windows, all of that taking place. Again, these two teams will meet each other coming up when they resume in August. Of course, Japan will be at the World Cup as one of the host nations. Although Indonesia, they need to get to the quarterfinals if they're going to take place. The Philippines will also be there. Iran are 4-2, not in bad shape in terms of getting to the FIBA Basketball World Cup. Anyway, there's the pressure and the turnover, and it leads to a layup, and that's interesting. So you talk about bringing in another point guard. They do, and this is what happens. Rasul Mosafari doesn't cope with the pressure much.
I don't think he was expecting the pressure. That's the problem. I think Iran came out that timeout, thinking that the game was over and that Japan would just, run out the clock with them, but that's not the case.
Which is why they called an immediate timeout.
Yeah, absolutely. Reset. Okay, the game's still on. They're still playing. Okay, we need to go back to the drawing board because 1 minute 15, 12 points. It's a big ask, but Japan have the power to do it. They have the scorers to do it.
Well, Iran won it again. 2013, that was the last time they won it. They also won it in 2009, 2007. Is this going to be their year? That's the question. Certainly look like contenders. And now another turnover. And how in the world? And Kazemi is the one that ends up diving on the floor for the loose ball.
Yeah, smart play by Iran. Don't go for the bucket. Run some clock. Slow it down.
Oh, I'm going gambling. Pazirofte hands it off to Mosafari. And with 51.7 seconds left, Shida drives in, and Kazemi takes one for the team, but I think is a little bit late. That's a situation where Kazemi dives on the floor for the loose ball to prevent the run. And I can't remember which Japanese player it was. He was obviously trying to pick it up so they could run and get an easy basket, but.
Yeah, I think it was an OU. But yeah, it's a
little unlucky, but maybe you just have to get on the ground to get it.
Yeah, you do. Secure possession first. The only thing I would say is you don't want tying up because possession arrows with Iran anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't want to get into that jump ball situation, but you're absolutely right.
Taminaga for three. Woo! Goodness me, like a lightning bolt. 11 points the difference.
First three of the game for Tominaga.
Wow.
How things are different today.
Mosafari penetrates, gets inside. Oh, what basketball. And look who finishes. It was Mosafari passing it to Mohammed Yusuf Vand. And Mosafari comes up and commits the foul with 27.8 seconds left. Going to take a minor miracle now for Japan.
Yeah, I think it truly will.
Yeah, the irony. But that's his range.
Yeah, it is. 1 from 6 from downtown today from him. 2 from 7 for Tagashi. 1 from 7 for Watanabe. And that's why Japan have lost the game. I think in those quick sum up stats, really. Just haven't shot the 3-ball, and they're really heavily reliant on the 3-ball.
Well, Safari passes up to Pazarovti. He goes in for the dunk! And the 3-point shot is good from Innoyu. Back to a 12-point game. And that's going to be it. Hovas really upset that they didn't call a technical for hanging on the rim. Pazirovti. So he's really venting, I think, a little bit of frustration, but making his point. That's a technical. So in the grand scheme of things, Iran were just terrific. They win it 88-76 over Japan, underlining their status as one of the top teams in Asia and one of the top title contenders.
Yeah, if there was any doubt before today's game about Iran's hopes of getting to the top podium, 1, they are absolutely wanting to be there. They are putting everything onto the floor, and 2, they have the talent and ability to be on the top step of the podium. So impressive today. You know, they came and imposed their style of game. Their big stars stepped up. Haddadi looked great. And across the board, they shot the ball well. Japan, not their usual selves from outside, and their stars struggled offensively today, as Iran shows some appreciation for the crowd who have come to watch the game, as do the Japanese players.
Pretty good throng of Iranian supporters here behind us. Look at that. Yakhchali 21, Haddadi 21, Jamshidi 20. That is a three-headed monster scoring-wise, but you got to say, it's not just a three-headed monster, because you've also got Kazemi out there as well.
Oh, across the board, you know, 11 of the 12 players for Iran scored today. And any player that came onto the floor pretty much did the job that was needed of him. Iran looked phenomenal throughout that game for me.
I'm surprised.
I'm surprised it was that, you know, that it was pretty an open game.
I'm surprised that Iran were as good as they were and Japan were as poor as they were. I expected Japan to be better.
Yeah, me
but,
too.
You know, confidence is a funny thing, and it can disappear quickly.
Especially when you're young.
You know, if you're picking holes in it, you know, you're thinking, I'm sure that Tom Hovas is thinking that Watanabe is going to get it going eventually. He's maybe your best chance. But, you know, maybe there, and you alluded to Kai Taves kind of demonstrating what he could have done. I thought maybe we could have seen some pressure, full court pressure earlier, maybe earlier in the game.
Yeah, I think Japan just accepted almost. They allowed Iran to dictate what the game was going to be, how the game was going to be played. They didn't try and, you know, infiltrate that, change that, and force Iran to change how they were playing the game. Iran just came in and said, this is how the basketball game is going to be played, and you're going to have to beat us playing our game. And as soon as you do that against a team of the quality of Iran, it's going to be a long night, to say the least.
They were so good. It's hard to say who is their best player. That's how good they were.
The thing is, if you look at the box score, like you said, you've got the 3 guys, 20+ points. Haddadi with 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, probably, you know, goes up there. Yakhchali, for me,
he was kind of the tone setter in crunch time when they built that lead.
And the things on the defensive end that you don't necessarily see from Yakhchali. You know, it's not just the steals, it's the hustle plays that he came back, knocking it out of bounds, those kind of plays as well from Yakhchali. But you're right, who is the best player? When you look across the board, Kazemi came in and did a good, you know, did a
2
great
steals
job.
and a block, a couple of assists, 7 rebounds to go with his 4 points, and it's
and even people like Agangjapur, you know, the 21-year-old doesn't get a huge number of minutes, but when he comes onto the floor, he makes an impact.
Yeah,
he fits into the system and makes an impact.
Yeah, also
absolutely.
So just they have to be absolutely over the moon Saeed Armagani, Mohammed Kassipour, and Mehran Atashi, the brain trust of Iran. And without a doubt, this is where Hovas was like, he's hanging on the rim.
No, do you know what he was calling for? He was saying that he put his weak hand on the ring first and pulled himself up and then stuffed the ball.
I see, I've got you.
So
that's
it's basket interference what he was calling for, but I think that's just frustration from Coach Hovas at that stage with how his team have played.
So Iran clinch first place. They are 3-0. Japan at 2-1. They will go into the qualification for the quarterfinals along with Syria, who had that amazing win earlier against Kazakhstan, rebounding from their demolition by Japan a couple of days ago. So Group C is settled. Iran, we now know, are for real. And you better look out. You better not cry. Iran, they're going to be flying high.